So welcome to the Sancta Studio. We are delighted and privileged to have spent this last few days with the Carmelite Sisters for the Aged and Infirm, who was founded by a daughter of this parish, Venerable Mother Angeline, who lived here, went to school here and worshipped in this parish and left for here to pursue her vocation. And because of that vocation, we have the fruits of our labour. In the early days, we have these wonderful sisters all here in Mossend who have come from the United States to see the statue unveiled, which didn't arrive in time. But despite that, we've had a wonderful weekend with the Irish pilgrims, the Mass and their presence here. So we're going to ask them today a little bit more insight into the Mother Angeline that they knew and loved so well and what they do in their vocations and work. So Mother, what's it been like these last few days coming here?
I think it's really been overwhelming. Just looking at pictures of Mother's life experience in her book, Coming Alive, being at the school, her house, the grotto, those were just images that were in a book and had no meaning except that's where Mother was. But to walk in her footsteps has been truly overwhelming, and to be here at the Mass and see the love for Mother with the people in the parish has just been remarkable. And I think for me, one of the things I go home with is an understanding of her sense of hospitality, because the people of Mossend have been so hospitable that far exceeded any of my expectations. So it's really been wonderful.
That's good to hear. Is there any particular highlight, sister, that you have experienced this last few days?
I think it's been an awesome experience, because when you come into all the places that you brought us, and you have been absolutely wonderful doing that, you begin to realize how Mother formed her vocation. I know she started in Ireland, but then she came here and then received the rest of her sacraments here. And to have that faith just engulf everybody just in church alone today, I can feel her presence. When we walked in yesterday, when we had a chance, or the day before, I'm trying to remember which day from the next now, but and to know that that's where she prayed and that's where she received communion and confirmation, and that we were privileged to be a part of that. And I also think I was, the same as Mother had said, overwhelmed when we went to the grave. And I saw, here we stood where her parents were, her sister and her brother, I believe, as well. And to know that Mother probably stood there with many fears and many tears, and she moved on in our community. And we probably didn't really know some of the suffering that she experienced, because she always looked forward to bring our community forward. She was a woman, before her time, and you can just see now when you experience that whole life of her, it just comes so much more alive for me. So I can't thank you enough for having us.
Our pleasure. I'm losing my voice. Not for emotion, because I'm tired, okay? Father, what about yourself? It's your first time, not your first time in Scotland, I don't believe.
It is my first
time. Oh, yeah, I've got that wrong.
Scotland.
So it is your first time in Scotland. How has the general impression been of the country, and also being in the community, the Catholic community here?
Well, my impression is extremely positive, because we have experienced such tremendous hospitality and sincerity among people, everybody we've met. We haven't always understood everybody we've met, but one could certainly tell from their demeanor and their faces and their smiles and their eyes how welcoming and helpful everyone has genuinely tried to be. I've been amazed that even though Mother's basically not lived here for 112 years, that still her memory is present here, very much so. And to see the house and the church, it has sort of filled in a picture that we all have, mostly from books and articles and writings. So to see the people and to see the atmosphere, and to know that Mother was essentially, although born in Ireland, kind of an adopted Scot in so many ways, and to be shaped by the faith that is still present. The bishop made the comment at lunch, Bishop Joseph, who was very easy to be with, that the faith and the level of practice in this area of Scotland is among the highest in the country. And one can see that Mother had that faith in I think, a wholesome or a non-exaggerated way. Her faith was very deep, and her ability to translate her faith into action, one can see that, present here. And to learn different aspects of her life has been for me very moving and eye-opening. And one can really see that it must have been the planets of grace spinning that would have put her in Carfin at the same time as Canon Taylor, whom I've known about for 40 years or more. But to see the scope even of his own life and ministry, and how affected Mother was and related to her, and in her relationship with him, to see how his own vision also affected her. And of course, he's a kind of a giant in the Carmelite world for his spreading of devotion to Saint Teresa of the Child Jesus. So it's very funny. He's the founder of the shrine to Our Lady of Lourdes, at the same time as being the promoter of devotion to Saint Therese, which Mother Angeline certainly came to the United States with, that devotion already, and yet at the same time, it's no doubt that our Lord is the king of the Carfin parish and grotto.
That's brilliant. And Sister, yourself there, what has your highlight been or impression been of this last few days?
For me, it was just an experience of walking probably through the steps of Mother. I kind of really never knew too much about the Scottish end of Mother, because we always kind of go to the Irish side. But I found it very, very moving. I was moved by seeing where Mother lived, where Mother's parents are buried, and for the hospitality and the greatness of their trust in Mother, especially from the older generations up, that we met so many people who even knew Mother that I don't think we kind of really knew. And that the whole experience and the kindness of everybody here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thanks very much. I'll get round in order here so you get plenty of time to think what you're going to say. Thanks very much.
You're stealing my line.
You're stealing all your lines. You don't have to say after this. Well, what was your thoughts, Sister?
I never knew Mother Angeline as she walked the earth, as she has with the others. The year I started working for our community, one of our homes, before I entered, it was the same year that Mother died, 1984. And I have to say, I got to know Mother through the other sisters, their spirits. To say that I got to hear and live their spirits, this brought her more alive for me. I feel very honored, privileged, and humbled to be able to have had this experience. The highlight for me, I would be honest to say, is the Mass. At one point of the Mass, the light came through the chapel, and I don't know if the priest could really see it or not, but it was like Mother's presence was right there. And you also had a picture of Mother with the Sacred Heart. And at our Mother house, Mother she has a statue of the Sacred Heart. And when she would go past it, she would touch the Sacred Heart's hands with the wounds. And she has done that so much that the pain has now worn off. So little things like that were coming out to me during this visit, like the threshold of her house. But more so like the threshold of the door that she passed through before she entered the Little Sisters and her journey began. It just tells you where the Holy Spirit is so much alive, not just back then, but even now, even among the three of you that have brought us on this journey with you. It's a beautiful journey. and to be open to that Holy Spirit is a blessing that I'll never forget. So I want to say thank you, teacher.
Thanks very much, very kind. Yourself, sister, you came, of course, on a different flight from the other sisters, and got here first. You were the first one we met in the airport, so...
I never thought that either. I thought they were already here.
But you got here on your own. What was it worth it for you? What was it like?
Oh, absolutely. It's like the end of a circle. I'd been privileged to be in Northern Ireland, where Mother grew up part of her life, but to then make that travel with her to Scotland and seeing this part of her life here, it's like closure of the whole circle, and to see everyone in the chapel, all aspects of her life, not only nationality-wise, but the little sisters were in the chapel, just everybody together. It showed her whole life in one microcosm at a Mass, which was a glorious Mass. Music was uplifting, speaking was uplifting, and just having everybody in one room was one of the most profound Masses I've ever been in, quite frankly.
That's lovely to hear. I know your sister, you're our last but not least. Do you have anything to add?
I'm sure she does. Come on.
I really have been struck, I think most, by the faith of the people. You could just see it in them. And, you know, both the people of Mossend and those that came from Braca, the love they have for Mother, and just all the work that has been done here in this parish, you know, to have this beautiful statue made, and we know it's going to come, we will see it, but even the way the statue was designed, it shows Mother with the two elderly residents, an elderly woman in a wheelchair and then an elderly gentleman. She's holding both their hands, and she has a beautiful smile on her face. To me, that is our mission, and that's what it's all about. And Mother taught every one of us that, you know, we see Christ in every old person that we take care of, and that's what I see in that statue. So it has just given me, I don't know, it's been overwhelming. It really has been. So we thank you for the experience.
So you've all mentioned something about the experience, and you've all mentioned that you've known Mother. One or two haven't known Mother in life, but I've known her spirit. Mother, could you tell us a bit more about what that spirit is and what you've learned about Mother yourself?
I actually never met Mother. I had entered the year after she died. But I would say the spirit that I've always been admired in our community is the spirit of joy. I think there's always a deep sense of joy in our sisters in the best of times and in the worst of times. And it's that joy, I think, that came from Mother. And today, actually the message today was be at peace. So I think it's always a sense of joy.
Yeah. And yourself, sister, you know Mother personally?
I was able to walk with Mother towards her aging years when she was more frail, because I entered when I was, it was in 1978, so she was still alive. But I think the thing that really struck me is Mother always talked about the dignity of a human person, and I think being here and you see all the aspects of life and all the people that came to honor her, and you saw all the stories that people were telling. You know, I'm the cousin of the second cousin of the third cousin. Well, you know, so many people were inspired by her. And she was so welcoming to everyone. You know, we were to treat all people as Christ would treat people, you know, bring his compassion, his love. And when I heard some of the stories and I just saw the people that brought her honor, and each of you here in this room, the work that you've done to promote her cause brings great joy, but it also brings that great peace that, you know, Mother's work will continue, because you really have held on to that, and you're committed to spreading it. And I can't thank you enough for taking that as a work.
We'll promise to do that in the parish here, and we'll definitely from now on absolutely be even more so than it's been. Father, yourself, did you know your Mother Angeline's postulator, so you've studied intensively her life? Did you know her personally, or just from the testimonies you read?
No, I met the Mother in the priest section in Avila, and her first words to me were, "Did they give you enough to eat?" That was kind of emblematic of her, always concerned about hospitality. And then shortly thereafter, when I would go to visit, Mother was really declining. But she declined beautifully. When we would go up to see her every night, and she would touch you and talk to you and smile at you, and she was so very, joyful, absolutely joyful. And you could see in the faces of the people around her their love and affection for her. And they spared nothing in trying to provide for her. And she became very tactile. She would touch your hand, rub your face, and she would communicate that way and sing in French and speak in French. It was really an overwhelming experience. And then I was there at her funeral. And you learn a lot, not just from the person, but by the way the people around a person act. So the first time I saw Mother was much earlier than that 1984. And we had a jubilee, and it was 5 of the older fathers having their golden jubilees. And this would not surprise the sister. I was both the organist and the sacristan that day. And it was in Middletown. And they kept saying, "Mother Angeline is coming." Oh, who's Mother Angeline? Mother Angeline is coming. So I heard so much about this. Mother Angeline was coming. Then I said, "Well, how will I know who Mother Angeline is?" They said, "When Mother Angeline arrives, you will know who Mother Angeline is." And that was absolutely the truth. This very tall and dignified woman who smiled at everybody. Everybody knew her. Everybody kissed her. Everybody said hello to her. And she was just so gracious that she created that impression. And I think that when you read about her, because you can learn a lot from books, people talk about how they felt in her presence, that a person of her position and her disposition and her talent had a way to connect with people so beautifully and make people feel very welcome, and never people didn't feel afraid or they were awed but not overpowered. Mother Aloysius, she talks about her first meeting with her in St. Patrick's is just tremendous, an impression that she left with people that lasted 60 and 70 years, that they could remember the way she was. And now when you see her context where she grew up, and you can see the sturdiness of her personality and how it could become that way, and the brand of faith that she drunk from and then lived the rest of her life.
Beautiful. I'll start with yourself, sister. I'll give you a chance to get ahead of the queue here this time. Do you have any particular memories of Mother Angeline yourself?
I certainly was privileged to know Mother personally. I entered in 1973, and like Sister Peter, we knew her in her old age, but that strikes me because she became like the people that she dedicated her life to. But I have beautiful memories of coming into the chapel at our Mother house and seeing Mother sitting there in prayer. And I think most of us have those same memories because she was just the most prayerful person, and we learned that from her. Those were kind of the lessons that she didn't need to speak. We learned from just watching her and seeing her.
Beautiful. Yourself, sister?
When I was a novice, I entered in 1967, and I, at one point, was assigned to the Mother house, and I was working away, and Mother came out, and she had a brand new habit that she needed pressed because she wanted to wear it for her anniversary the next day of I don't know if it's profession or entrance. So I was up on the 3rd floor pressing away. I just felt so privileged to be doing this, and meanwhile, the other professed sisters were looking for this novice. Where is this novice? I could hear them. Where did she go? You can't depend on these novices. Where is that one? I'm up there listening to all of this and pressing away, but I just felt so honored. She was so gentle. Would you pressed this for me, and it's stayed with me my whole life.
Of course, you didn't know Sister personally. We've covered that area, Sister, but you did, Sister. You knew Sister. And what was Sister like?
Well, I entered in 1961, so I guess I'm the elder of the group here. And but Mother was always a very gracious lady. And what struck me way in the beginning was that in those days, Mother knew her sisters, but she knew their families. She was very family orientated into that. And I know, being impressed, that she knew my mother. I had a mother and a father, and I was the only child. And so that struck me. I mean, but I had some other friends who entered too, but she knew about their families. But they had brothers and sisters, you know. But she knew their names and the whole thing about them. But Mother was always very kind and gentle with us. And not to say we had a lot of interaction with Mother, but Mother would teach us class occasionally in the vows, especially the vows before we were going to do First Profession. And she would explain the importance of the vows. And I have to say, even after I was professed, there was always circular letters at certain times of the year where Mother would write a letter to her daughters. And if she saw a problem, she would address it. And kindly remind all of us that what we were there for, and especially always, always, always stay faithful to God and to, you know, your religious vows, always. And it would give us the energy to take care of the residents. And I found through the years that that's so. If we can keep our prayer life, our own personal prayer life in God, then everything that we're asked to do, somehow we get the courage to do it. Or if we don't know how to do it, we certainly learn how to do it quickly. So that was, and I guess the most moving part of my experience with Mother was if we met Mother sometimes when we came on retreats, because we had a lot of sisters and Mother couldn't meet each one individually, we would sometimes go at the end of retreat and always give Mother a spiritual bouquet of prayers and things like that. And her first thing out of her mouth was, "Here's my beloved sisters. Would you all like a cup of tea?" Well, you can't give tea to 30 sisters standing in a room. So, you know, the saying was always, "It's okay, Mother, we'll get the tea." But, you know, we just wanted to say goodbye, you know, that we were leaving the Mother house and things like that. And my other thing was that I at least was privileged to be not in Mother's room when she died, but I was at the Mother house. We were preparing for a general chapter, and my committee happened to be up there at that particular time. And so, I mean, yes, we did get to see Mother after everybody, the doctor came and all of that, and we got to see Mother. But another friend of mine, who's also a sister in the community, was present when Mother died. And I think those are my memories, and especially her kindness and her thing about hospitality.
That's a wonderful way to finish. I'm not cutting you out, Sister, but you wonderfully set up the questions for us there to lead that in there. And it's been a real pleasure to have you all here. It's been a beautiful weekend for us. We've loved every minute of it. And we're not going to be lost what to do tomorrow and the next day. Maybe sleep a few hours, maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's been delightful, and we're certainly looking forward to being back in Avila with you. Not being back, but going to Avila.
Oh, please do.
Oh, please come.
So you so designed the program that no one ever said anything to the three of you. but I think I speak for everyone that we're deeply indebted and moved and touched by the dedication of the three of you who also didn't know Mother, and yet the conviction that you have about her and her cause and the good that she did and the good that her example can be for the Church, and using your youth and your skills to put forth the cause of Mother and our beloved Catholic faith is admirable. So we thank you so very much.
So thank you for joining us. Pray for the sisters on their safe return back to the United States. We will keep you up to date with all the progress in Mother Angeline's canonisation cause, and continue to learn about her life as we discover new stories, new memories, new photographs. We'll continue to share those, and we'll continue to pray, more importantly, that she will be raised to the altar as a saint of the Catholic Church, as a daughter of Mossend, Ireland and the United States. God bless.